We're drawing to a close. Not just yet, but drawing to a close. It'll be a little bit of a sad close, I'm sure. Okay, so we have tomorrow night, after tonight, and then Saturday, Dr. Ramirez will be finishing with 3 presentations for us. I just want to give you a reminder, if you haven't remembered already, would you kindly just switch your mobile phones off, make sure they're on silent. It's worth checking just in case. I'll also let you know again that we'll be having some snacks, some refreshments just after the first presentation. So please feel free to come to the back kitchen there and join us. And can I invite you to bow your heads with me for a word of prayer? Our loving Father, thank you once again for this evening. Thank you that we could come, Lord, that you have seen the opportunity for us to come, to listen and to learn. And we ask for your wisdom so that we may apply these things, Father, with conviction. And that we may receive the blessings that you have prepared for us, Father. We know some of us are here, Lord, not only for ourselves, but for loved ones who may be suffering and struggling. And we ask that you would help us to minister to them as well. So please be with Dr. Ramirez again now as he leads out, Father. And we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Well, good evening. So we have 2 very important presentations today. Let's see if we can switch the screen there from the back. And let me just fix my colors here. So we'll be dealing with male health and with female health. So we'll start with the males, as it's in the program, and then we'll continue with the female health. I took this photo in Minnesota. There's actually close to the downtown there. There's this nice little waterfall, and it was a quite interesting place there to go and visit. I'll be citing some of my research. The research, remember, is in that ResearchGate page. Also, I'll be citing a few of my tweets, so you can also find them there. I like Twitter because it has a very nice way to search for information. So you can put Eddie RD, MD, and then put the word, and then it'll search my tweets very well. So let's start with the attack of the testosterone. And we know that male health is something that sometimes is neglected because of males. You know, it's interesting. Usually the males that come to see the doctor, the wife brings them. You know, they don't come by themselves. Females tend to take care of the problems earlier, while males, you know, not until the thing is very advanced, finally the wife brings them. You know, doctor, can you tell me, you know, what's wrong with my husband and so forth? You know, that's the way that it works. Also, after working in lifestyle centers for so long, usually it is 3/4 is females, you know, and 1/4 is going to be males that come to improve their health. So, we males have a very important hormone, and that is the hormone of testosterone. Testosterone protects your brain, actually. Males with lower testosterone, higher risk of dementia and other neurological problems. It protects the heart. Also, in the males, it increases their energy. It improves their love life, strong muscles, well-being, better mood, weight loss, healthy bones, and even better sleep. That's why this testosterone is so important, because many of the functions of the body are dependent on that good amount of testosterone. But what you can see here a little bit here, the phenomena, how testosterone starts to decrease with age. And you can do something about it also. Hormones many times respond to the need. So as long as you have a need, the testosterone actually will be increased. And here you can see testosterone is actually not the same level throughout the day. The levels of testosterone actually change. And notice how young men tend to have higher levels of testosterone. Therefore, the curve is a little bit higher, as you can see here. So testosterone is what makes a male male. Okay? It is the testosterone that starts stimulating those shoulders to start growing up, to start, the facial hair, the reproductive side of things, the strong bones. It's what makes the voice of the male, the way that it is. It also decreases the fat, increases the muscle, and also it gives males that ability to have that drive and so forth. God has given males, to take care of their partner and so forth. So that testosterone helps them with that function of, protection and so forth. And one problem that we are seeing very commonly in the Western world, including Australia, we are seeing a very significant decrease in testosterone. And we're going to be learning why that is happening. But when the testosterone goes low, many of the body functions start going out of whack. From fatigue, or especially chronic fatigue, loss of muscle mass, fat gain. You do a workout and it takes a long time to recover. Irritability, depression. Remember, we were talking about that. This will be considered a medical condition when the testosterone is too low. Memory problems, libido, and ED. So there are a few questionnaires that we can use to try to identify if a male is having an issue with his testosterone. One of them is the Adam questionnaire. This is not the complete questionnaire, but this actually has a few important of those questions. So you ask about the sex drive, lack of energy. Are you seeing that you are getting weaker, less endurance? Have you lost height? Have you lost your enjoyment for life? Are you sad or more grumpy than usual? Are you falling asleep immediately after eating? Classic symptom of low testosterone. And has your work performance been decreasing? And you continue asking, for those important questions of the testosterone and see, if the person is having these issues. Look at here, Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back, and oh, my back. So many times bodybuilders damage their testosterone by injecting testosterone. If you're injecting testosterone, it sure works. Your muscles are going to grow like crazy. But your testes will say, they don't need me, there's plenty of testosterone. So you actually atrophy your testes when you are injecting yourself with testosterone. That's why all those things, all those shortcuts, sure, they work in the short term. You become stronger and bigger and so forth, but you cause all kinds of health problems in your body. And this is something that is worrying us. An indirect measurement of testosterone is the sperm density. How many sperms are found, So in 1938, it was, in this study, it was 121. In 1964, this is in America, 97. In 1984, 59. In 1996, 38. And one example of this is this professional golf athlete. He tells his story how, he was winning, all the competitions and everything. But suddenly everything started falling apart. His drive, his energy, his motivation started to go away. His game was not the same. In fact, he says that he lost his desire. He no longer enjoyed practicing. He just made a couple of holes and then he was done for the day. Instead of before, he was really trying to make things the best possible. I felt tired. I felt irritated. It was not the same. And even though he was 36 years old, a blood test revealed that Michael actually had the testosterone level of a 70-year-old male. And sadly, this is not uncommon in today's Western world. We're going to be learning about it. Now, the interesting thing is that our great-great-grandparents didn't have this problem, because of the way that they were living. These people were living long lives. They were strong their whole lives, and so forth. So it is, as a general rule, that testosterone decreases by 1% by the time you reach the age of 50. And that's why a 70-year-old has half the testosterone of somebody that is 25. And this phenomena, as I was mentioning to you, is something that is occurring worldwide. So these are the results of multiple studies. You can see America, 68% less testosterone on average, Brazil, Denmark, England, France, Hong Kong, Nigeria. And the only ones that had a little bit slightly increased was Germany, Finland, and Sweden. Now, there's a very good study that was done. It's called the Massachusetts Male Aging Study. And they were doing some interesting follow-up between 1916 and 1945. And they found that the more recent the birth, the lower the testosterone level. So that means a 60-year-old male in 2003 had 15% less testosterone than a 60-year-old from 1988. And as we're going to be learning today, among many factors, one has to do with the factor of pollution and so forth. So even your confidence, even your social success are related to testosterone. If the testosterone levels are not there, well, the person doesn't feel, that confidence to conquer and advance and go forward and so forth. So the body prepares, usually when there is about to happen a challenge, be it from a simple chess game to a competition and so forth. The levels of testosterone start to increase to prepare the male to face what they are about to face. So a 40-year-old male can have variations and still be considered normal because of the super small amounts of testosterone that are found in the body. So if you think about it, between 300 to 1,000 nanograms. So a nanogram is a billionth part of a gram. That's a tiny little bit. It's like grabbing like a glass and put in, some of your bread there, how that film, forms there in the glass. That's about how much that is, It's a tiny, tiny little bit. So one of the challenges with measuring testosterone is because the amounts are so low, it's hard to measure it. It's not like measuring, for example, your red blood cells. There's a lot of red blood cells in the body. So therefore, the measurement tends to be like very, very accurate. But when you measure testosterone, it can be challenging. Also, laboratories sometimes can give different results. And as I mentioned to you, there's a circadian rhythm on the testosterone. So it's not the same if you're measuring at 10 in the morning as if you're measuring midday, if you're measuring in the evening, and so forth. And also the testes secrete this testosterone by peaks. It's not like it's continuous and so forth. So at the Massachusetts study on males, the one I was mentioning to you, a male born in 1970 at the age of 35 had less than 20% of the testosterone that his father at the same age. And among the explanations why we're seeing that decrease in that testosterone, one of the most important ones, obesity. What happened is that obesity antagonizes the testosterone. Obesity actually secretes estrogen, okay? And that's why that, antagonistic effect against the testosterone. So in that same study, the one I'm mentioning to you, only a few males were actually, obese. The average was overweight, and a body mass index of 25. But in 2003, the average 60-year-old had a body mass index of 30. So that made a big difference on the antagonistic effect that fat has on the testosterone. And as I was sharing with some of you, this last weekend, this study from America, in which they started studying obesity. You can see in 1985 in America, the states with the dark blue had a problem with obesity. 1986, 1987, 1988, 1989. Then you reach to 1991, and you have a new classification. Now between 15 to 19% of the people living in those states with the dark blue have a problem with obesity. Then 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, a new classification. Now 20% of the males in that light orange color have a problem with obesity. 98, 99, 2000, 2001, new classification, and now it's 1 out of 4 people that have a problem with obesity. This is not overweight, but obesity that we're talking about. 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, new classification. Now 30% of the males in that darker red have a problem with obesity. 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010. So are things getting better? And this is exactly what is happening in Australia. Just go to your statistics here. You will see that many Australians, are struggling with their weight and so forth. And talking about males, this is not good because, as I mentioned to you, that excess body weight end up interfering with the normal function of the testosterone. Now, there's good news. You can do something about it. We've been mentioning this study. This is my clinical case, how this patient that was having problems with obesity, having problems with diabetes, having problems with hypertension, he was able to reverse all those conditions in a year and a half by following the lifestyle that we have been talking about here the whole week. It is possible to do something about it. So we know that obesity predicts low testosterone. So usually the rule is by every 10% in body gain, you have a 10% in testosterone decrease. And that's why a male with obesity or overweight has 25% less testosterone than a male with normal body weight. And what's happening in our world is that sometimes our eyes start to get used to round forms. So sometimes somebody has his normal weight and people are like, oh, are you sick or something? What's wrong with you? So now the normal is the abnormal and the abnormal is the normal, because of our eyes, start getting used to that. I've seen this, I've seen mothers that bring their child to me for consultation and they're like, doctor, I think my son has worms. Why? Well, look at how thin he is, we measure him, we take the measurements, height, weight, everything is normal. But why does the mothers think that? Because, his people that he play with and so forth, are having problems with the weight. And one phenomenon that happens on somebody that gains that abdominal fat is that the breasts start to grow. The reason why the breasts grow is because of the stimulation of the estrogens that I was mentioning to you. So the estrogens end up stimulating the breasts. Now, second problem why we're seeing a decrease of testosterone is multiple medications. So medications have their benefits, but many medications end up affecting the testosterone. So for example, in 1988, it was 38% of the males in the study that didn't take any medication whatsoever. While when they did the follow-up in 2003, every single male was taking at least one medication. Can you see the issue here? So that is not good. Also, another factor we're seeing very commonly is infertility. Because as I show you at the beginning, a sperm count decreases when there is less testosterone. And this is something that we used to see a lot in the Western world. Now, even in the developing countries, this problem of infertility is creeping in. Also, we're seeing more spontaneous abortions. Many times abortions happen because the body detects that embryo could have some genetic issues. So that the body, gets rid of that embryo, those spontaneous abortions, the ones happen by themselves. We're seeing also more genital defects. We're seeing testicles that are not descended, abnormal urethras, and testicular cancer. And remember the study I showed you at the very beginning? How males that drink alcohol 3 months before they make their partner pregnant, that baby that results from that pregnancy has a 47% increase of a heart defect. So the issue is that we're seeing these problems more and more commonly. So in this medical journal of Australia, it was suggested that exposure to chemicals, now, these are chemicals that usually in nature you don't find, so they are proposing that those chemicals are affecting the development of the fetus. For example, And this is something that we were talking a little bit about yesterday, remember, when we were talking about the fish and so forth. 90% of American males have this chemical in their urine. And the thing is that they use this thing for all kinds of things. So especially as you go higher in the food chain, remember we were talking about that yesterday, the concentrations start to go higher and higher and higher. Also, another study from Harvard University, it was shown that increasing these chemicals decrease testosterone. And that's not good because this chemical is used very much, including quite a bit here in Australia. Another commonly used chemical that is found in 75% of males, we know that it decreases sperm motility and it damages the DNA. Again, it's a herbicide and insecticide, and they use quite a bit of it. Then this one's also found in cosmetics and colognes and plastic softeners and so forth. So these things start leaching out and you start creating, a negative effect all over. Now, what are the most common enemies of the testosterone as the person is developing? So most commonly, on the 20s, is alcohol, coffee, and junk food. Can you do something about those three things? Yes, isn't it? You can cut them off. And you need to avoid them, and you need to start building what we call the retirement fund, or muscles, okay? At this age is when you can build very nice muscle mass. It's easier to build it at this age, and it'll actually help you quite a bit. On your 30s, what happens? The person starts his professional life, the person starts to, start families and so forth. So the main enemy there is going to be stress. What can we do about it? Well, something that you can do is the Sabbath, isn't it? That's something wonderful to do, because you take, that time out and that time to regenerate and so forth. You have to have a temperate life. When you're in your 30s, your energy levels are nice and high. Man, you can be working 16 hours a day, no problem. But that intemperance is going to start creating problems. So you do need to have, your exercise time. You need to have your rest time. You need to have, your building up time spiritually and so forth. And the biggest problem in the 50s is gaining weight. That is the biggest problem on people that are 50. Because, usually by the time somebody reaches their 50s, economically you're doing a little bit better and so forth. Things are more relaxed, and many times, they lower the guard and then gaining the weight. So, as I told you, you can find this on my Twitter there. The biggest factors to lower testosterone. Well, the metabolic syndrome, the gaining of the weight, not doing, weightlifting, casual sex, masturbation, chemicals, pesticides, the animal products like meat and chicken, alcohol, too much stress, not enough antioxidants, your fruits and vegetables, mercury, we were talking about that yesterday, BPAs, consumption of junk food, loneliness, not sleeping enough, pollution, not exposing yourself to sunlight, pornography, fuel, and cigarettes. All these things are enemies of your testosterone. So you need to start doing things to start avoiding this as much as possible. So what can we do? Well, we need to start working at improving our weights, and this is something that we can start at any time, and this is the good news. As we start losing that excess body weight, it makes us feel better, our health improves, our joints improve, and your testosterone will actually start increasing. So, also start building your retirement fund, start building your muscle. See, when you are doing weights, you are telling your testes, I need more testosterone. So you create a need for the testosterone to start going up. And you can start lifting weights at any age, okay? This is not something, well, it's just the very young ones, they need to be careful there that their cartilage are fully built. But other than that, even a 70-year-old, an 80-year-old can lift weights. Of course, you need to adjust it depending on the situation, at least 2 times a week. And this is one of my studies. In this study, we were documenting something very interesting. We were documenting how if you follow a whole food plant-based diet and you have a problem with obesity, you're going to lose weight. If you have overweight, you're going to lose weight. But if you're normal weight, you won't lose weight. And if you are underweight, you won't lose weight. In fact, you probably are going to gain a little bit of weight. So this is the beauty of this diet. As you follow this diet, you start shedding that excess body weight, and once you come down to your normal level, you will stabilize there and just keep it like that. So what we need to do, we need to switch to a whole food plant-based diet. Notice that I emphasize the word whole, okay? I'm not talking about a junk plant-based diet. Before coming here to Australia, I was in America, and we went to this vegan restaurant. It was junk food to your right side and your left side, So now because it has the word vegan there, that doesn't mean that it's healthy. Watch out, I mean, that restaurant had so much oil and refined foods and so forth. So watch out. I mean, you can follow a vegan diet consisted of Coca-Cola and Oreo cookies. Those are vegan, But those are not the most healthy things to eat. So make sure that you avoid those animal fats, because also atherosclerosis decreases blood flow, and if blood flow is decreasing in the male organ, that's going to have a negative effect on your testosterone. Also watch out for those triglycerides and cholesterol. And alcohol. We know that alcohol has a very negative effect on your testosterone. Alcohol will decrease by 7% immediately the testosterone, So not because everybody is drinking and so forth, that means that, it's great. No, that's not a good idea, That has a negative effect on your testosterone. This is my study. We're documenting here how alcohol is linked to poor mental health. So watch out for that. And we know that one of the biggest problems with alcohol happens to be the increase in the risk of cancer. And this is an international body. When a certain substance is classified as, carcinogenic and so forth, these things actually are done by the AICR. So there's things that are not carcinogenic, there's things that are potentially carcinogenic, and there's things that are carcinogenic. So alcohol happens to be classified as something that causes cancer. In fact, there's multiple organizations that are pushing for alcohol to have a label that says this product causes cancer. Just the one that you find on the cigarettes and so forth, they should have that because we know it causes cancer. Yet, the lobby against this is tremendous. So, as you know, very well aware, the alcohol industry, is significant money to fight for this type of labels. And you can see how the recommendations are not to drink. So what things cause cancer? Notice that the things that increase your risk of cancer also affect your testosterone. Can you see how they all connect? So cigarette smoking, excess body weight, alcohol, ultraviolet radiation, infections, physical inactivity, and secondhand smoke. Another thing that we need to work on is avoid caffeine. And not only it's going to affect your testosterone, it's also going to affect your nervous system. Studies show that alcohol is going to start affecting your mental health. So it comes to the point that the person is drinking caffeine not because it gives them any energy, but it's because it makes them feel normal. So you take the caffeine, it stimulates your chemicals in your brain, and then those chemicals wear down, and that's why you drink coffee. Because by drinking the caffeine, it makes you feel normal. But the person that doesn't drink coffee or caffeine feels normal all the time. Isn't that a better deal? So that's the reason why the person drinks the caffeine. Also, something that you can do that works wonderful to increase testosterone is bright light therapy. Bright light therapy increases something called the LH. LH is the signal that comes from the brain to your testes to start increasing the testosterone. Now, Viagra doesn't do this, but bright light does. So bright light therapy is excellent to increase testosterone. How do you do this? You expose yourself from 30 to 45 minutes with bright light. How bright? Enough if you had an ASA 100 and you took a photograph without flash, that it shows everything. So that means if you want the measurement, it's 10,000 lux, L-U-X. That's how bright it needs to be. So you get that by the sun. You guys here in Australia have wonderful sunlight here pretty much the whole year. So what you do, you go out first thing in the morning. That bright light exposure increases your testosterone. And that's why I was telling you that your great-great-grandfathers didn't have this problem, because your great-great-grandparents knew that in the day it gets really hot, so you are to start working in your farm early in the day. So they would go out early in the day, start their farm duties, and then they would be, exposing themselves to the bright light, doing exercise, getting the fresh air, and so forth. And then they would rest in the middle of the day when it was nice and and hot, and then they'll continue in the afternoon. So that's why they had the normal bright light therapy. Another thing, avoid pornography. This stuff, not only messes your testosterone, it also messes up with your brain and so forth. Also, use wisely those spiritual resources. Stop stress. This excess stress in the body has all kinds of negative implications. So we need some levels of stress, but not too much stress. So excess stress is negative. Not enough stress is also negative. So we need a balance of the stress. As I mentioned to you, stress helps you perform. Students that are about to take a test that don't feel stress, they don't do good in school. So that's actually one of the problems with some of these medications that they give to these students. The student complains, I feel anxious and so forth. There you go, here's your medication, take away that. Man, they go to school, their grades just tank because you need that healthy stress levels in order to perform correctly. So one option there is to use those spiritual resources. I show you the study that I did showing how Bible study and prayer we found among our sample of more than 6,800 people was the best thing to help decrease the levels of stress. Another thing that can help you very much for the stress is aerobic exercise. So you need to start doing, your exercise, especially those days that are going to be, quite stressful and so forth. You have a certain thing that is going to be quite stressful. Start your day with stress. That's going to actually decrease, the levels of stress, and you'll be able to perform much better. And minimize toxins. We talked a little bit about it. Let me just share with you a few more of my studies. This is my study. In this study, we're documenting how eating fish has a negative effect on your emotional intelligence, and we believe that has to do with the exposure to toxins that you are doing because of that. And here you can see, it's very clear how you had a higher level of EQ, and then if you start making lifestyle changes, it actually starts improving that EQ combined with cognitive behavioral therapy. And this is the other one I mentioned to you that I did, in which I cite another study that says that today every single fish has mercury. And again, the body doesn't have a way to get rid of that mercury, so the more you eat, the more you accumulate this mercury. This is a little short article that I wrote. You can find it on my LinkedIn. And I answer the question, are pesco-vegetarians really more healthier than vegans? And what I did to give an answer to this, I took the data from the Adventist Health Study, and let me show it to you. See, the Adventist Health Study, for example, regarding heart disease, it's very clear. The fact that you become an Adventist and you just follow the clean foods, you actually decrease your risk of a heart attack and a stroke by 44%. But if you become an ovo-lacto vegetarian, you decrease that risk by 61%. And if you become a whole food plant-based, you decrease that risk by 86%. Isn't that a good deal? That is a significant deal. As we mentioned a few days ago, if your arteries start to clog in, your whole body, is going to suffer as a result of that. And we were mentioning this yesterday, how in the Faroe Islands they saw a decrease in the IQ of children, and their conclusion was their high intake of sea products was bringing all kinds of toxins to those developing brains, affecting their development. And we also saw this, how the higher you go, the more the toxicity of things. So water, 0.02 parts per million of this toxin, while the microscopic organisms in the water had 5 parts per million. The herbivorous fishes that were eating those microscopic organisms had between 40 to 300 parts per million, and the carnivorous fish up to 2,500 parts per million. So you can see the tremendous increase that happens as you go higher in the food chain. And this is something that also worries us. They're called the gender-bending chemicals. And these are found in many plastics. It has been linked to multiple types of cancers. And as they check the bodies of teenagers, 86% of teenagers have these gender-bending hormones. One of the most important gender-bender chemical is called bisphenol A, also known as the BPA, found on plastics and so forth. And what happens is that this chemical mimics the female sex hormone estrogen. And that's not good for males, because you start increasing their levels of estrogen, and even their behavior is going to start reflecting this. So from the Adventist health study, let me show you the results. Look at this. For example, who has more hypertension? This is from the results from the Adventist health study. Notice how the pesco-vegetarians and the non-vegetarians have higher levels compared to the whole food plant-based diet. Who has problems with high cholesterol? Well, first the non-vegetarians, then the pesco-vegetarians, and the whole food ones have the lowest cholesterol. Who has the highest bad cholesterol? Notice that number one is actually the pesco-vegetarians, then the carnivorous, and then the ones that have the lowest are the whole food plant-based diet. Who has inflammation? Remember, for those of you that came to the lecture of inflammation, this is the marker for inflammation, CRP. Notice the non-vegetarians, number one, then the pesco, then the lacto-ovos, and then a big difference with the vegans. Those are the ones that have the lowest inflammation. IGF, you do not want to have high IGF, insulin growth factors, because this stimulates the growth of cancer. So there's a relationship here with cancer risk and this IGF-1. Notice the relationship here is very clear. So number one was the pesco-vegetarians. Those are the ones that have the highest IGF. Then the ovo-lacto-vegetarians, dairy products increase very much this IGF. IGF comes out in the cow's milk, and you drink this, and you're drinking that IGF. And in the third place was the non-vegetarians, and you can see the vegans, big difference there, and that's why it decreases very much your risk of cancer, that type of diet. And lastly, make sure that you hit the gym on a regular basis. I'm not talking about just once a month or something like that. As I mentioned to you, a good amount would be 2 times per week. So as you can see, we can do something about our testosterone, and let's start making those changes and start harvesting those results. So let's go ahead and take a 10-minute break, and we'll come back for the second part.
Okay, so those who came in a little bit late, we have some refreshments and just some snacks at the back there, and then we'll come back. And we'll have a few questions at the end of the second session this evening. All right, so 10 minutes, and we'll see you back here. Okay.